During that course of time, and this gets skipped a lot when I talk to people who look at like the YouTube audience now and say, how do I do, this, that, next thing? Man, those first like 6 or 7 years, I like put all of my energy on trying to get great at my craft. All of my time was like, how do I get great at coaching and studying? I used to would go shadow coaches on the weekend and watch like the best coaches in my area. I'd go watch them coach for a day and kind of pick up what they did, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I was all in, like all of my focus was getting great at coaching. And I think that's an important base because all of the strategies and little hacks I have for how to build social medias, underneath all that is the fact that like you have to actually be good at the thing you're talking about.
Welcome to The Ownership Game with Gary Montalvo. What would it take to get into the driver's seat of your life and leave your mark? The Ownership Game starts now.
Some of the biggest moments in your life will come down to one thing: a bet on yourself. That's exactly what my guest today, Eric Cogorno, has done his whole life over and over again. As a young golfer with ambitions of going pro, he quickly realized he wasn't good enough to make that happen. But instead of giving up on the game he loved, he made a bet. A bet that he could still create a career in golf, even if it didn't look like he originally imagined. That bet led him to golf coaching, and later he made another bet, this time on social media and YouTube. Before he had all the answers, before he had a big audience, before he was sure if it would even work, he went all in, and it paid off. Today, Eric runs a wildly successful golf coaching business and has built one of the biggest online golf communities out there. But his success didn't come from having the perfect plan. It came from trusting himself enough to take action before he had all the answers. This episode will challenge you to rethink what it means to be ready and show you why sometimes the biggest risk is never betting on yourself at all. Let's get into it. So, Eric, I'm really excited to have you on the show. So I have the honor of working with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. And, common journey for entrepreneurs is they start a business because they have a passion. They have a skill set or something they really love, and they want to just very innocently share that with the world. And they go off and start businesses, and then they realize that that passion or that skill set is literally like 10% of of the actual business. So I'm excited to have somebody on the show who has successfully turned one of his passions into a business. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, Gary, I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Absolutely. So how did golf come into your life? When did you become passionate about golf? And, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I grew up playing all kinds of different sports, Gary, right? Like my dad played different sports. I played baseball and basketball and football growing up. And my dad used to golf on the weekends with his friends. Like every Saturday and Sunday, he'd go golf with his buddies. And so when I was, up until the age of, let's say 12 or 13, I had never played before. But I always had kind of curious about like what this golf thing was all about. And I looked up to my dad when I was younger. He was like a, hero to me. And so I just wanted to really hang out with him, hang out with him and his buddies and get into the game. And I thought, I'm pretty athletic. I can pick up this golf thing, no problem. And so I kind of, bugged him for a while to take me down there. I think he liked getting away with
I'm sure.
So he maybe wasn't like, I think he wanted to spend time with me, but wasn't so pumped about the idea of me coming along there maybe. But then eventually he ended up taking me, and golf for me, Gary, was the first thing athletically that I tried that like wasn't pretty easy right away. Not that I was like fantastic at baseball and basketball on day one, but like I've always had good eye-hand coordination. I could like work my way around sports stuff, but golf was hard. And so I think one of the things for me, obviously outside of me wanting to go spend time with him and him and his friends, is that the difficulty of it almost like made me more obsessed with it. You
Uh-huh.
know, like I think because I wasn't good at it right away, similar to their sports, I almost like doubled down on like, oh my gosh,
It's
what's going on?
it's more nuanced, I think, right? Like I feel like golf, I mean, not that I know anything about anything, but I feel like golf is like more subtle calibrations, right? Like
Oh,
with that, is that right?
yeah, that's definitely it's so micro, and it's like, you know, in
Mm.
baseball, if you miss hit, it's a foul ball, you get another swing. Basketball, you miss a shot, you keep playing. In golf, when you hit a foul ball, you got to go play that ball,
Uh,
right? It's like it's the difficulty level is very high, and so I think that drove me, Gary, you know. And then like when I went to go play with him a little bit, I was used to winning, you know, like when I played other team sports and stuff, like we always had good teams. I was lucky to, you know, we won a lot of games. I didn't lose a lot athletically when I was younger. And then here I go play golf with my dad and his buddies. I'm just getting whooped. You know, I'm getting beat
uh-huh.
down every weekend. And so I think the combination of me not being good at it and then like hating to lose when I was younger took me from being introduced to the game to getting obsessed with it.
I was literally sitting here thinking, I wonder what that drive was that had you focus on something that you were not exceeding at when you had all this other places where you can just go play that would be much more rewarding. But it sounds like you have a competitive streak and you were like, I don't want to lose. I'm going to figure this out.
No doubt, Gary. I mean, when I was younger, you know, I was a shy kid. I had lots of like social anxiety, lots of fear about stuff when I was younger, and so I got really competitive and hated to lose. I
Mm-hmm.
think you hear that a lot, but I hated to lose even more than I enjoyed the winning. I think just out of like fear and being
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed to lose, etc., which was a nice driving force to
Mm-hmm.
work hard. You know, when I was younger, and so yeah, I certainly had that with golf. And you know, this we're talking now. I was probably 12 or 13 years old, so I'm like a middle school kid at this point, you know, and like from that point on, from middle school until the end of high school, and I've had these things, Gary, where like when I do something and then I'm inherently not good at it right away, like when you're never good at something in the beginning, but I'm like, all right, this is difficult. I'm not good at this. I've always either had this fork in the road where I'm either like, hey, I'm not going to do this at all, like zero, or I'm going to really like lean into it and dive head deep into this. The same thing happened when I started coaching, but from middle school till, you know, high school, I was all in on golf. I thought this is what I'm going to do now. Like I want to go play on TV, go be, you know, be a professional golfer. And that took about all of like one professional tournament to realize, hey, I'm nowhere near anywhere close to as good as the rest of these people.
Mm.
And so, you know, that's how the coaching career got started.
So it's interesting because I think there's a really valuable lesson in that because a lot of people, their instinct is to shy away from those things that they feel they're not good at. And I think it happens a lot to entrepreneurs where, oh, I'm not good at the money, or I'm not good at the numbers, or I'm not good at social media, or I'm not, good at speaking. And so instead of how can I learn this, right? How can I figure this out instead of embracing yourself from a perspective of let me train myself to do this, they avoid it, right? They avoid it, they, focus elsewhere and they pay a price for it, And so I think there's a real valuable what you're saying is so important. I think a life lesson, but as an entrepreneur especially, there's real value in approaching things from how can I figure this out? And then working it's almost like a training program for yourself, if you will, right? Like how do you break this down so that my brain can embrace it?
Yeah, well, 100%. And I think as I've gotten older, Gary, I've like recognized that that's the reality. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a like a binary or a black and white or I am good or I am not good. It's almost always like I'm currently not skilled at this,
Mm-hmm.
but I can build the skill, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I can certainly
Mm-hmm.
improve over time. But as a young kid, I didn't know that, right?
Yeah.
Like I thought it was just like I'm either good or I'm not good, and that's all she wrote. And I think as I've gotten older and gotten better at things, I've learned that no one's good when you start, and
Mm-hmm.
you know you build the skill by doing.
Yeah. So when did you so you sounds like the trajectory was to go pro and you did a tournament and was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And so then you decided to go into coaching at that moment?
Yeah, so like the when I got to college, when you're younger, you play sports in your little local area. So
Mm-hmm.
like I lived in a little bubble. I was not exposed to things when I was growing up. So if you're kind of the best athlete in your little town, you think you're like,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
world
yeah,
class guy.
yeah, yeah.
And then you go two towns over and you're like, okay, wait a minute. No, I'm not actually that good. So I kind of started, it really happened in college right away. Before I even played in the pro tournament. Honestly, like my first or second tournament, we played some of these schools. I went to Lehigh. It's like a small Division I school in Pennsylvania. So we played some bigger schools. And Gary, I'd go play with like the worst guy on like these mid-level teams, and they were
Uh-huh.
so good. They were so good. So like, oh my gosh, what are the guys at like Miami and North Carolina? Like, how good are these guys? So, I'm also realistic with myself. I think in terms of what am I willing to put in and what am I going to get out with it.
Uh-huh.
And the odds of me being able to go play were so small for the work. And so that's a backdrop to like when I'm at this point in college, I'm realizing I'm not good enough to go play. I happened to go to school when 2008, 2009 financial crisis was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I was getting recruited to go to school, these kids I went to school with were getting MBAs out of Lehigh, six-figure jobs right out of school. So I'm like, all right, this is great. I got this backup plan. I can go just do finance. I'll make 100 grand a year out of school. And then like the semester later, man, those same kids like couldn't find jobs.
Mm-hmm.
This is happening in my first year of college. And so that's happening while I'm realizing I'm not good enough to go play golf. And I'm at this point, I'm working at a golf course making minimum wage, Gary, right? I grew up with no money, not poor, but probably like very lower middle class.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been working at this golf course and I used to pick balls in the range. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you guys are familiar, but there's this guy out there, you hit the ball at him, right? He's picking the balls in the range. And so that was me. And so I'll never forget like leading to how I got coaching here. That's the backstory, right? So like I'm like, gosh, what am I going to do with myself now? I'm not going to go play pro. These guys can't get jobs. What am I going to do? I'm picking balls in this range one day. And if you can imagine, it's August. So it's like humid. It's like 90 degrees. I had gone out maybe partying the night before. I was like a little hungover. It's like 7, a.m. in the morning and hot already. And I'm on this range, Gary, and it's like a bumpy, hilly area. Like driving this cart out there is not super fun. So I'm not in like a great mood, right? And I pull the picker around after my first pick. And as I had been picking the balls, I was watching, there was this guy at this golf course, who's the golf pro there, his name's Paul. And he was giving this guy a lesson. And they're
Mm-hmm.
underneath this like shaded area. There's a fan going in there. They're like laughing it up. It didn't seem like he was working that hard, right? And I pulled this cart over, right? I pulled this cart over and I'm like, I just happened to walk by and he made an offhand comment, not braggy, but just like he happened to make a comment that he had made $50 given a 30-minute golf lesson.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm 18, 19 at this time,
Yeah.
and I'm making like, $7 an hour
Yeah.
picking balls. And so it didn't take long, Gary, for me to say, wait a minute, I have to pick balls out in this range for 8 hours to make $50. And you just did that in 30 minutes in the
Yeah.
shade, laughing up at this guy. And so that's Paul. I then said to him immediately, hey, I'm interested in teaching golf lessons. And I gave my very first lesson the next week.
Okay. And how did this become the entrepreneurial uh enterprise that you have now? I mean, let's talk a little bit about that, right? Just to give context. I mean, I gave the listeners a little bit during your introduction, but you have this online coaching business. You have a large following on YouTube, all the platforms really, and you're like one of the go-to people for people who are looking to get coaching online in golf, right? Is
Yeah.
that did I miss anything?
No, that's good. I appreciate that. So yeah, how we got from like, hey, I'm going to start coaching next week to this where we are today is like so I asked Paul, hey, I want to start coaching. So he gave me
Uh-huh.
my first couple clients.
Yeah.
That's how I got started. He said, hey, okay, I'll give it to this. We'll do a little revenue share. And my first year coaching, I made
Can,
$7,500.
can, I'm sorry, let's stop
Yeah.
there for a second because that's actually, I just realized that it was pretty ballsy what you did to go ask this guy, you know, like, hey, give me a shot. And I'm just present to how many people don't even take that step, you know?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like,
it's a good I appreciate that, Gary. It's one of those examples of like good timing, good fortune, but then I also put my foot forward.
uh-huh.
Like I took advantage of him, and I had talked to this guy a couple times. We kind of, had a nice little relationship going. He worked at the course. I was doing the picking the ball, so I knew who
Yeah.
he was. It
Yeah.
wasn't like he was a stranger, right?
Yeah.
And I just said, "Look, Paul, here's the situation. Here's where I'm at." I didn't tell him that it looked like what he was doing was easy. I just said, "Hey, I'd be interested in."
Hey, you look really comfortable under that fan
Thank
there,
you.
and I wanna
So, and he was fortunate enough where I said, I also, Gary, I think is important in that initial part. I brought it up and made it a good thing for him, meaning I said, "Hey, I
say
want
more
to start
about that.
coaching." Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was, "Hey, I want to start coaching. I see you're coaching a lot. I see you're busy. I'm sure that you have people that come in that maybe you don't feel like dealing with or you don't have time for. How about if I coach them and we'll split the revenue? So you keep 25, I'll keep 25, and I'll do the lesson type of thing." So
So,
I made it
so
attractive.
good. So good. I'm so glad you said that because so many people don't approach it from like what's in it for me, not what's in it for you and what's in it for us. So so good.
Yeah, and I get people, and I'm sure Gary, you've experienced the same way too, where people will be like, "Hey, I want to come, I'll work for you for free," or I want to come, shadow or this, that, the next thing. Whereas like that's even like that's not only not better for me, that's like intrusive for me. Like if
Yeah.
someone, I want to say, "Hey, here's what I can do to help you," right? Leading that way, and so that's how I got my first couple lessons. And, I didn't go from, I made $7,500 my first season, right? So I went from minimum wage to like making $25, $30 an hour. And then every year I doubled for the first like 5 years.
Mm.
I went from 7,500 to 15. Now at this time I'm working at the course, on the side. So I'm kind of teaching part-time. 7,500 to 15 in year two, 15 to 30, 30 to 60, and then 60 to like 80, 90. And what I did in those first couple of years, Gary, is another example, like when I started playing golf, when I gave my first couple of golf lessons, I was so bad,
Hmm.
as you are. No one's good at their first lesson, You're insecure, you give way too much information. It's like it's a mess. I retained clients because I showed how much I cared,
Hmm.
but the tactical stuff we were doing was no good. But I still retain some clients. I really tried to make sure I knew enough then. We're like, hey, no matter what, when they leave here, I'm gonna go above and beyond. Like I'm gonna really, because I did care, show that I care and do everything I can to help them. And so I retained a lot of clients with that more than the results they got in the beginning, right? And so
So
word of mouth,
another lesson for those of you listening there.
yeah, like
Okay.
in year one, right? I'm not gonna be able to get results like I can in year 10. I just
Yeah.
don't know the tactical, but I can care a lot. I can go above and beyond. And that means something. And so that got me a lot of word of mouth. That's kind of how I built my business in the beginning, which I think
Hmm.
is typical, right? I got this person and they said, "Hey, I got a buddy who wants to play." Okay, cool, bring him in, type of thing. And in year, and during that course of time, and this gets skipped a lot when I talk to people who look at like the YouTube audience now and say, how do I do, this, that, next thing? It's like, man, I spent like, man, those first like 6 or 7 years, I like put all of my energy on trying to get great at my craft.
Mm.
Like all of my time was like, how do I get great at coaching and studying? I used to, would go shadow coaches on the weekend and watch like the best coaches in my area. I'd go watch them coach for a day and kind of pick up what they did, what I liked, what I didn't like. And I was all in, like all of my focus was getting great at coaching. And I think that's an important base,
Hmm.
right? Because all of the strategies and little hacks I have for how to build social medias, underneath all that is the fact that like you have to actually be good at the
Yeah.
thing you're talking about,
Yeah.
you know?
It's so good because I feel like it's probably a product of the social media world that we live in where you just see the shiny end result and often don't see everything that it took to make that happen. So it looks easy in some ways, right? Like, oh, you just got to be great on camera, or hey, you just got to have the right equipment, or hey, you just got to know the right tactic or the right, but there's so much to that and I often find that people are trying to rush to the end. They're trying to rush to the result. And instead of taking the time to, this is about you honing in your craft. And it's not even like the idea of like paying your dues somehow is like frowned upon now. Like people just want instant success. And it's like, no, you have to learn like the what the lessons that come from that sweat equity cannot be replaced, cannot be taught, cannot, it's like it shapes who you are as a person. It shapes the future of how you build your business. It influences so much. So I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, it's harder now, Gary. Totally agree. Like it's because now everything's like dangled in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just easy to see those shiny objects. When I was doing this, and I'm sure you've had some experience too, like when I was really getting great at my craft, this was pre me seeing like all this stuff online. I'm almost
Yeah.
fortunate, I think, that we were able to
Yeah.
do it maybe before the social media now. But the thing I realized was like, and for all of us, the getting great at the craft, like that's the equity that we have forever. Like no matter what happens, if we're
Yeah.
really good at the thing we do, there's ways to monetize that. There's ways to build the dream life we want around that. Like that's the core thing that must be there, and just simply cannot be skipped, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and it's a continuation. It's an ongoing, never-ending process with that. But I think that's important as the base because everything else that I might say now is very secondary to like the fact that that was, that was in there. And so I built up a nice little in-person business. We got to the point where I'm like, 26, 27 years old. I'm making 80 or 90 grand a year. I live very frugally. So I like even already at that point have more money than I needed.
Yeah.
I never had growing up. That was a new, a new thing. I wasn't buying Ferraris or anything, but like, I had some little, extra money. And then how we get from there to the online thing is I had a series of events happen, which depending upon what you believe, in a greater
Hmm.
power, the universe, or whatever. I just had a remarkable set of circumstances happen to me within 1 week. So the short version, Gary, is so I'm 26, 27. I built up this little in-person business, and it's a Saturday afternoon, just like when I was picking balls. Fast forward 7 years, same range, same summer, same hot. There's a theme here with me. I'm like outside in the heat when I come to these realizations. Saturday afternoon, I'm on a range. I'd probably given like 7 lessons that day. So for people who do services or coaching, it's like one-on-one, 7 hours in a row. Not a lot
It's a
of,
lot.
yeah, mentally, right?
Yeah. It's a
Mentally
lot. You're drained.
drained. So I'm standing there on the range and like, and I realize, I start going through that last coaching session. I'm just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really there mentally. And I just thought to myself, like very clearly, was like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to do this for, till I'm 50, 60, 70 years old. Like I
Mm.
can't keep doing what I'm doing here. So that happened on a Saturday, right? This is like a mid-afternoon Saturday. That night, I was getting ready to go out with my friends. I was in the bathroom. Back then I had more hair. I was doing my little hair gel in the bathroom. And my friend sent me a video and it popped up on my phone and it was a Tony Robbins video.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had never heard of Tony Robbins. I had never talked to my friend about this. He's like, hey, I saw this video. I think you would like it, right? One of my good friends. I clicked on this video and it didn't do anything for me for whatever reason. I watched it. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. But right next to it, the recommended video was from a guy named Jim Rohn. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
2 hour video called The Day That Turns Your Life Around. And I pressed on that. And I'm not sure exactly what words to use to describe how I felt. But like when I listened to him talk, everything he said, Gary, just like hit me right in the heart. Just like everything he was talking about, he was talking about personal development. He
Mm-hmm.
said, you should be spending more time working on yourself than you do on your job.
Mm.
And I thought, what the hell does that mean? Right? Like what's personal development? I never heard of personal development.
Yeah.
And so I just like it really hit me the right time, right? That same day. And right after that video was a goal setting workshop, Jim Rohn goal setting workshop. It's still on YouTube, three or a 4-part video, totally changed my life. Like cannot highly recommend that enough for anyone listening. And I was feeling enough pain at the time that I took action and I actually went through this goal setting workshop, right? I took out a little legal yellow pad of paper like I have right next to me and I went through and did the goal setting workshop. And the short version of that, Gary, is it's like you're sort of imagining your dream life in the future, and you're writing down like if you could have whatever you wanted, no
Mm-hmm.
logistics, no strings attached, what would you have your life look like? And I had never done that before.
Mm.
Like I had done pretty good in school. I went to a pretty good college. I graduated high in my class. No one ever told me about that. I never did this goal setting stuff. I kind of loosely knew what I wanted to do, but I never like got specific and clear and like thought about it. And it was the first time in my life, man. This was the day after. This is Sunday. First time in my life that I ever let my mind like consider and expand about what would be possible other than like what I was doing that was right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I had never like let myself dream like that. So I did that workshop, and I did that I did it like 8 times every week for like 8 weeks. And after the second week, I happened to be given a golf lesson, and a lady came in named Mary, who's my now business partner. So I'm burnt out, right? I did this goal setting workshop. I'm starting to think about what my life could be like outside of this one-on-one coaching. This lady comes in for a lesson, and right before we had this lesson, I used to do these group lessons, Gary. There'd be like 20 or 30 kids. I'd have music going. We're busting each other's chops. It's like a fun, like cool training environment. And she came in and she's like, Eric, you should do like a golf show. Like there's something really cool going on. I should do like this golf show thing. And she had a PR background. I said, it's funny you said that. I don't know about doing a show, but I'm thinking about doing this YouTube thing. I had kind of been looking online and I was watching guys like Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm saying, okay, I'm thinking about doing this YouTube thing. And her and I, again, short story, we end up talking, and we posted our first YouTube video probably 2 months after that. So the backstory I think matters, Gary, because it's like I would felt pain, which I think was the motivating factor for me to act. I was like burnt out. I had got introduced to this Jim Rohn thing and kind of expanded my mind for the first time. And I met someone, who could help me make it a reality. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of that happened for me around the same time. And I'm not sure if you remove any one of those three that my journey would have went the same way it did. So long story, but that's like how we got to my in-person to doing
It's
the
such a
YouTube.
good story. I literally have like this grin on my face the whole time. And there's so many juicy lessons in what you're talking about. I like to talk a lot about, I believe we're being spoken to at all times, but we don't listen, you know? And how many people have that experience of, oh, I don't know, man, this work sucks, or I'm not happy right now. But you just keep on trucking, like that's how life is supposed to be. And you just like that becomes like your bar, right? And so the fact that you're willing to go, listen to that intuition, wherever it's coming from, like whatever you believe, it's coming from somewhere, going like, wake up here, right? There's more. So that to me is huge. The that you that you are that you follow the breadcrumbs that life starts to put in front of you. And when this, something that you've never experienced before, you knew nothing about, you're listening to this guy talk in language that you've never heard, and you were open enough and humble enough to try it and go, let me go down this road, let me especially for men, I feel like there it's like, oh, yeah, I know everything, so
Mm.
I that's also so good. And that you were willing to swing out in a whole direction called YouTube that you knew nothing about. You were just like, this was so much value in what you just shared there. And I wanted to break it down that way so that people can kind of see all the little lessons in there that are there for people. No, so good. So good.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. It's like, it's funny when you tell a story about things we've done in the past, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, 5 years of things can get turned into 2 or 3 sentences. Obviously, there's a million things that happen in between the two, but I think that gives the big bookmarks. And just to
Yeah.
put a little bow tie on that, Gary, is like, I've come to realize now later, right? There's these couple of pivotal parts of my life. Pivotal part was that day on the range, I met Paul, I started coaching, right? Lean into that for a couple of years, get really good at it. Pivotal day, I felt burnt out, did the Jim Rohn thing, met Mary, boom, pivotal point there. And all of these things that have worked really well for me since that Jim Rohn goal setting workshop, very clearly I can see a direct correlation to how when I did that dream life vision and I got clear of what I wanted my future to look like, which then expanded. as our visions do. And that me doing it once a week and writing that down, allowing myself to think and dream,
Mm-hmm.
then turned into a daily visualization, right? That I later put in. The clarity on where I want to go has led to all the things that have happened after that. Like it set a clear destination
Mm-hmm.
that allowed
Mm-hmm.
the roadmap to take place. So, like, the only reason I did YouTube was because when I did my dream life vision and I started to do the math on it, I needed to get to certain financial figures. So at the time, to give scale, I'm making 80 or 90,000 bucks a year, right? I do this dream life vision thing. My goal, Jim Rohn says, hey, everyone's goal should be to be financially free. So you have enough money invested that pays your bills. I thought, gosh, that would be unbelievable. I had never met someone in my whole life that was financially free. Every
Mm-hmm.
family member I've ever had worked till they died and never had
Mm-hmm.
any money. So I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, holy shit, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and I'm in my late 20s at this point. I thought, what would be a time frame that would be really unbelievable to do it? But what about if, like, by the time I'm 40, what if like 10 years I could live my dream life with complete financial freedom? I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, that's a destination that for me moves me
Mm-hmm.
enough. So when I did the quick math on that, the short version was like I needed $4 million invested to kick me back enough money, like 20 grand a month, to pay for all the stuff that I wanted to have. House in Florida, house in Pennsylvania, the cars, the this, that, the next thing was 20 grand a month. So for me to get to 4 million divided by the years that I had to do it, I needed to make like 1.2 million a year. It's like 100
Mm-hmm.
grand a month. Now, when I'm making 80 or 90 grand a year, coming from a kid who's never seen anyone with money, dude, 1.2 million a year might as well have been a billion. That
Yeah.
felt so far away from
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
But it was the first time I ever even considered that it might be possible.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never thought about that before. And then I started to think, Jim talks about, like, Tony does, like, how do you get there? Then you model success. So I thought, okay, is there anyone in the world who makes 1.2 million? Like, is this even doable? Like, obviously, yes, right? Are there any coaches, like people who do what I do, make 1.2 million? Yes. Are there any people in my industry, golf coaches, who do? Now we're talking only a couple, like one, two,
Mm-hmm.
or three people. So I'm like, okay, what do they do to be able to make that amount of money? Now, what I'm doing at this point is one-on-one coaching, and that's it. That's my only source of income. The guys who made 1 million a year, they did events. They would do golf schools. They had an online membership site, right? They would have these other sources of income. And so I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Maybe a couple hundred people know who I am, know that I coach golf, maybe in my local area. So I'm like, well, I'm not sure how to get to those numbers. But I thought, okay, well, if I was going to do a membership site and I needed to make that, or golf schools, how would I do that? Like, where are these people that I need to get? And YouTube, this is 2016 and 17, was like, that was the place. That's where people are going to search for golf videos. So I didn't wake up one day. My point here is I didn't wake up and be like, oh, you know what? YouTube sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do that. It was very detailed of like, here's where I want to go. And the only way to get there was for me to build my audience. And then what's the best way for me to build my audience? And so things that I have done, Gary, that like I've actually followed through on and that have moved the needle for me, it doesn't come like I'm going to take an action first and get clarity later. For me, it comes from clarity on where I want to go first, and
Mm-hmm.
then that dictates the actions to get there.
But that's so good because I think it's the other way around for many people. They just start taking actions without it being, without having a real clear direction, a real clear. I think that in my experience, there's a lot of fear and hesitation around clarity when it comes to dreaming, when it comes to setting goals, when it comes to creating plans. Um, I think on the one hand, probably the biggest reason is just fear of disappointment, fear of failure, that, I'm going to let myself dream. I'm going to go have this big thing and then I'm going to, fall flat on my face, or what if it doesn't happen, and, all of that. I think another reason is, what if it does? And
Mm-hmm.
now I have to go be responsible for that, right? Like now, like now that I've put myself out there, I have to be willing to take the punches that come with putting yourself out there, right? And then I think another one, there might be more, but these are my top three. It's just like a lack of imagination. That there's a way that you just don't give yourself permission to play and dream and what if, right? So I'm really loving your story in that you're saying this is really the first time that I gave myself permission to actually, what if I could make this happen? And it's so powerful because I really think that we don't often give ourselves that permission, you know?
Dude, so yeah, totally aligned with everything you just said there. We could probably talk hours about each one of
Yeah.
those three individually.
Yeah.
I think the main sticker would be like if we were doing a coaching session and someone said that to me, I would say, hey, like totally understand that. Me too. Like totally get where you're coming from. I've been there as
Yeah.
well. But like ultimately for me, the proof is in the pudding type of thing of like I had such a distinct life of like before I started doing Dream Life Vision and after. There's
Mm.
just like such a clear line in how my life has gotten better in all areas. And who knows, if it would work for everyone when they're going to do it or not. But what we know for sure is if you don't do it, it definitely won't work. Like there is a grand total of 0% chance relative to what we're talking about of like getting that dream life stuff
Yeah.
if you don't go for it. And I think the other thing, Gary, too, is like going for it doesn't need to be a big, huge thing. Like dream life, vision, and healing. When you say dream life, we think like, oh my gosh, this like big, huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. A dream life could for someone could be, hey, I'm working 40 hours a week to make, 80 grand a year. It'd be awesome to only work 20. How could I figure out to
Yeah.
make the same amount of money in half the time? So it also doesn't need to be like a big grandiose thing. It can be,
Yeah.
but it can be little micro, little micro things. The other
Yeah.
little point on that, one last thing, Gary, is like anything I've ever written down, this maybe so for someone who's listening, maybe who's like thinking, hey, do I want to do this or not? Anything I've written down that I've thought about, I've gotten. Now, most of
Mm.
it, a lot of it has taken me longer than I thought. It's been a whole heck of a lot more difficult than I thought. The road to get there often is not how I think,
Mm-hmm.
right? But like the getting there things is almost 100%. It's pretty wild. And so if that's true, and I'm able to do those by thinking about it and then continuously daily thinking about it, and I get 100% of it, even if you get little bits of that and you got 20%, 30%, 50% on your list, like imagine what that life could look like compared to what it looks like now, right? And like
Yeah.
the getting clear on it part, like I don't want to go on and on about this, but like I almost like a core fear of mine, Gary, is like, what am I not thinking about that
Mm.
I could be thinking about, that I could be doing, that could impact other people or help make my life better? Like, I think it's so, so powerful. I think it's the most powerful exercise we can do. And not doing that doesn't mean you're not going to be successful, but I think the odds of success decrease dramatically. And also, like some of my friends, you end up being successful on paper, but not living the life you want to live
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you weren't
Yeah.
clear on where you wanted to go.
Yeah. And aside from success, it's, something that happens is you don't get to know yourself to be the person that you could be,
Mm,
right? There's a way in which it keeps the game small for you because you're not expanding yourself. And so, that does contribute to your fulfillment in life, but it also contributes to what's possible for you. People think that the way they are is like fixed and that the
mm,
way they are is like something other than just what they're practiced at. I'm sure you as a coach, you get this, right? It's like people, I'm like I'm not good at this or I'm not good at that. It's like, well, yeah, but it's because you're practiced at doing it this way. And so once we teach you a different way or give you the awareness more than anything of
come on, Gary.
how you're doing it that's not working, then you have the ability to go, oh, okay, I can catch myself now when I'm doing it. We're just a series of practices, man. And once you start to change those practices, different results come about. So you're highlighting that so well. And once you start to expand and get to know yourself different, then even the vision expands, right? Because now you know yourself to be someone who can hold more, and so you give yourself permission to dream more, to and it doesn't have to be, oh, I have $100 million in the bank, because I think a lot of people go, oh, I don't want that. I'm like, okay, fine, but what do you want? Like
Mm.
what could it, what does that look like for you? So good. Okay. So just because you had this idea of YouTube, and just because you knew you wanted to get there, that's the reality. YouTube is a very complicated beast.
Mm.
Um, so what what was the process for you like of learning how to navigate this very complicated world that everybody thinks you just post stuff and then just wait for the viral factor to kick in, when we know it doesn't work like that at all. So let's break that. Before we go into like some of the strategies, which I love, I mean, I know there could be like 7,000 podcast episodes just on that. I want to just talk about how you approached learning the skill sets.
Yeah, there's two things that come to mind right away. One, I had that partner Mary. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, anything I've done really well, I always have another who with me. And honestly, as I look back upon that and some of the things I'm doing now, having someone else for me and just the accountability factor of it is so important. And I recommend that to a lot of my friends as well if they're struggling to get something going. I'm like, man, sometimes having another person in there with you to make sure you show up all the time and keep you going, that's
Yeah.
been a difference maker for me because prior to this, dude, like I wasn't afraid to quit on stuff.
Mm.
Like I might even call myself a quitter. Like I would quit on things for sure. And YouTube in the beginning, was not easy. I mean, we posted for a full year. Now, we started in 2016, 17. So the landscape has changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was far less competitive back then. There's far less people posting golf videos relative to what it is now. I think that's true in any industry. So the competition has changed. So there was more, there's more eyeballs to go around now for sure. There's more people on YouTube, but there's a lot more people posting. So we weren't super early to market, but we were early enough that I think that was an advantage. We were early. I had a partner, so I had someone to keep me accountable. So I think those were two big variables, right? If I'm being honest, I like to think like, oh, I'm good on camera and I'm a good coach and this, that, but like those, I don't know, those two things were big for me early on. So we posted our first full year. I'm coaching full time at this point still. So like I'm making my same income coaching. So I said, hey, I'll do this, but I need to do it like only where it fits in. So it wasn't a priority, it was an add-on.
Mm-hmm.
So we would film the videos we posted like once a week for the first year. No one watched anything. We made $0. It's you get your couple of your friends listen, type of thing, 10, 15, 20 views. And then a full year went by and we're filming these videos and I was kind of getting frustrated by it. Like, all right, this isn't working. What's going on here? And I went and looked one day, which I should have done earlier, at like what the people in my market who were having success were doing, right? Model success again. And I saw the people who were getting views were doing these like tip style videos, almost clickbaity, more like, hey, it'd be like, how to lose 10 pounds overnight type of videos. Whereas I was going more into the like depth of the like detail stuff that I thought was really good content, but
Mm-hmm.
people weren't clicking.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a valuable lesson that I learned. If people don't click it, how good it is doesn't matter. So we made a switch overnight from like basically our videos before were documenting me coaching people
Mm-hmm.
into these tip style videos. And instantly when we made that strategy change, doing the videos that I saw people in the market were actually watching, what they wanted, not what I wanted to do. That was a lesson that I've learned. And I think there's a fine line there. But just like a business, you're like, you sell products based on demand. Like you sell based on what the audience or the customer wants to buy, not what you would buy, right? You're not
Mm-hmm.
selling to yourself. So the demand for people to watch the videos is based on what they want to watch. What product do they want? And you find that out by seeing what they currently are consuming, right? Like what videos are they watching? What products are they buying? So when we made that switch and started doing those how-to style videos, instantly things changed overnight. I think up until that point, we had one video that got like 1,000 views, which I was pumped at. It's like the first time you make any
Yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's like, this is the best, right? Of those early results. So 1,000 views was great. And then we did it with one of those first videos. We filmed 3 videos. I'm like, all right, F it. Let's do these tip style videos. This is probably in month like 14, 2 months into year 2. We filmed 3 videos and the first one popped off right away. Meaning like we got like 10,000 views. It was like 10x our normal. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. And so we focused the first 2 years all on building audience, not on making any offers, not trying to monetize it all. Just like, hey, let's remember Gary V's in my life big time at this point. So jab, 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 right hook. So I'm like, give, 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 give. So lots of free content. And that strategy change was really important. Early to market, had someone to keep me accountable, looked at the market, made a nice pivot there, right? That was a good point. At the end of year 2, so maybe month like 18, 19, was when we finally launched our membership site, which was based on what I mentioned before. Say, okay, who are the people that make the $1 million a year? What do they do? Events and membership site. Hey, we got to do this eventually. So we launched a membership site at the end of year 2, and then launched the golf schools the following year. And then we were off and running, and we're getting into year 9, which is crazy to even think about. Freaking 9 years doing these videos. And it's been an upward curve the whole time. And of course, like I mentioned before, when we're telling these stories, Gary, a gazillion things are happening in between all this stuff. But like the macro zoomed out look is like a lot of the people that I coach now to grow their socials, the mistake is just keep posting and good things will happen. What it really should be is just keep posting. And then after every set of videos, you have to look and say, okay, what is like one thing that I could do to improve this to the next set? Not 7 things. What is one thing? So we posted, let's say we ended up posting 3 times a week. So we were ruthless and consistent. It was Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for.
This is not the first year though. Was that the first year you said you were posting once a week? So when did you switch over to 3 times a week?
Sorry, I lost you there for a second, Gary.
Okay, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah. You said this is.
So hold on, let me just make a note of that. So you when did you switch from once a week to 3 times a week?
Once a week for year 1. As soon as we made that switch, when those 3 videos hit, then we started doing twice a week.
Okay.
And they were doing good. And then we're doing 3 times a week. The 3 times a week kicked in when we launched our membership site. Because my thinking there was, we're going to use this YouTube as like top of funnel to get people to sign up for this membership site. And so I thought, we do, every video is about 10 minutes. So I thought, okay, we're going to give 3 10-minute videos per week. That's 30 minutes of free content, which I think affords me the right to pitch my product for like 30 seconds in every video. So, it's 20.5 minutes of free content and then a minute and a half of pitch. So every video for 7 years I'd mention, hey, cogornogolf.com. Like if these videos are helping you, man, I could really help you if I could see your swing, right? Head over to cogornogolf.com, boom, boom. So we increased at that point, and then we promoted that site on every video. That's another big drop for a lot of the people that I work with is they don't promote their products. Like sometimes I'll go work with someone and they'll say, I'm not selling any of my thing. I said, well, I watched your video and I clicked all the links and I couldn't even tell you were selling the thing. I didn't know you're selling it. Whereas I would say that in every single video. One of the big things that gets lost there is I think a lot of people don't believe in their own stuff enough where they feel compelled to sell it in the videos. So for me, what my solution for that, especially in the beginning, is to make the offer so good that even if you're learning how to make your service or product better, as you're going, make the offer so good. Like our starting offer was $39 a month, and it included a swing analysis and access to videos. Like the swing analysis itself is like $150 a month thing. So the value was crazy. So I'm like, holy shit, guys, like this is incredible. Like you have to go take advantage of this. I really felt that. And so I would pitch that in every single video. And it takes a long time to people to buy. Like, they got to hear that pitch 10, 15, 20, 30 times until I hit them on the right day. They're feeling enough pain, whatever the case is. We're like, okay, I'll click it. But so lots of consistency with posting. I'm giving a bunch of things here. I don't want this to be overwhelming, but lots of consistency of the posting, pitching the product in the post, having the right give to ask ratio, but pitching the product in the post. And then only have them do one thing. Like one of the difficulties with social media is if we go, hey, Gary, at the end of this video, if you don't mind subscribing, liking, sending to a friend, comment below, sign up for my workshop, go to my school, no one's going to do 6 things. They won't do anything. Whereas I'm like, hey, there's one thing to do here, guys. Go to cogornogolf.com, go to cogornogolf.com, go to cogornogolf.com. And then every set of videos, it's imperative that we would go back and look at every 3 per week and say, okay, what's one thing we can improve for next week? And every meeting, right, we would film every Monday at 12 o'clock without fail, every Monday for the past like 9 years, 12 o'clock, start of the week. It's the most important thing. We're going to film at 12 o'clock. I'd start every meeting with, okay, let's just post 3 videos this week. Like that's the most important thing. Just make sure we post 3 videos. And then what's one thing we can do to improve the last set of 3? Like, okay, hey, the lighting could be a little better, or the audio, or the intro, or the title, just one little thing. And you start making one little improvement every week, over 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the videos start to look good compared to what they started with. So there's a couple of tactical things in there. Hopefully that'll help.
Yeah. I think that that's really good because I feel like there's so many lessons. Number one, I really want to highlight your willingness to stick it out for that year while nothing was happening. And yeah, in retrospect, maybe you could have, analyzed quicker. But I find that most people stop being consistent really early on because they're not getting the result that they want, right? And there's so much value in sticking it out long enough that you're getting momentum. But I think the critical part of making adjustments, not making adjustments all the time, because some of y'all be adjusting everything every 5 seconds and then you have no way of tracking what's actually working and what's not because you just keep like ADHDing the whole thing. But doing it for 30 days in a certain way and then going back to analyze it and review. But I love the way that you're saying, how can I make this a little bit better? Because I find that one of the things that holds people back is that they want to make it perfect from the beginning, right? And now, especially, there's so much, equipment. It used to be that you needed like a lot of equipment and a lot of stuff to shoot some of these videos. Now, most of us can do it on our phones, on a couple of orders from Amazon or ring light, and you're good to go. But you also have to be willing to start and get better at it and not try to start and be a pro right away, because there's so many things that you're going to learn along the way that you can't know what they're going to be until you actually get going on the journey, right? There's no way for you to learn those things but until you are at it.
Yeah. And something that's helped me a lot, Gary, that might help as well is like, I think the reason a lot of us want to quit along the way is just that gap between our expectations and what actually goes on. And so I think going into it, setting a different bar and expectation can help alleviate a lot of that. Like now, if I were to guide someone about building their social, I'd say, hey, the first 100 videos are just practice. No stress, no expectations. No one's going to watch. Just, you got to get into the habit of, hey, can I complete the task of doing the 100? You'll inherently improve a bunch within that 100, right? But like just getting the posting of the 100. And then the other critical language change I would do that's helped me a lot is I used to approach things as like, I'll do it until X. Or like, I'll try it for 2 years and see what happens. Whereas now the things that have worked for me is like, I'll do it, period. I will post the videos 3 times a week until the end of time, regardless. Like, that's it. I'm in, burn the boats, 100% committed. Because worst case scenario, you do the work and you post the videos and no one watches, and you are where you are now.
Hmm. And you get
Or
to know yourself to be as someone who keeps their word and is consistent and, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like, what's the worst case scenario of doing this? Like, what's the worst case scenario? Is a little bit of wasted time, but the added confidence you just said of actually following through on your word of something. And so
Yeah.
the point there is, I think, just like make the expectation doing the thing and the work versus the outcome of it super easy to say and harder to do. I totally get that. But I think that mindset around it's very, very helpful.
Yeah. As we wrap up, the something I'm really present to in all the goodies you're dropping is when people often approach social media or YouTube, they're often trying to figure out how to like hack the algorithm.
Mm,
What are the SEO words? What are the things? What's the time of the day do I post? What's the length? There's all these ways that they're trying to hack this. And what's really fascinating to me is that you did not talk about any of that. A lot of everything you shared are lessons that are very in your control. Um, and not really about strategy, but more about the mindset and how you grow something, learn something, uh, review and improve something. What do you have to
yeah.
say about that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I no, I feel that for sure. I think it's very much the same of like I've got friends, for example, who want to get in shape
Mm-hmm.
and they get lost in like what exercise I should do at the gym and miss the fact that you just have to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what type of chicken you eat. It's like that you do the chicken and the broccoli, right? It's like the zoom out. What am I trying to do here? And this all ties back in my mind, Gary, to like if you do the dream life exercise or spend some time getting clear on where you want to go. I've had so many things like the clarity of the dream life pulls me through a lot of shit along the way. The bad days, the certain things not working, the not sure exactly how to do
Mm-hmm.
something because I'm just like, hey, we're heading north. We might take a right-hand turn. A tire might go flat. I don't know what's going to happen along the way, but we're definitely heading in this direction. And that makes it a lot easier when the
Yeah.
short-term stuff is uncertain, when the
Yeah.
long-term stuff is more certain. And so like it's easy for me to say this stuff about YouTube because I was thinking about a 10-year goal the whole time.
Mm.
Like we're going through the process of posting those videos because I'm trying to get somewhere that's 10 years in the future. So if this one video in month 4 on a Tuesday doesn't do well, not a big deal, right? So long as I keep doing this, and this. So I just think that I don't mean to be a broken record on that, but I think the clarity on the longer term stuff sets the stage for a lot of the other stuff and like the tactical pieces, which I love talking about too, but just that's like a layer 2 thing. It's like, hey, are you going to do the work, right? We real quick on this. So we just did like
Yeah.
I do this mentorship program for other golf coaches and they all come in and they want to know the same thing. Hey, what's the title? The thumbnail, this,
Mm-hmm.
that, like that. Great. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to get to that stuff. But like week 1, let's get clear on where you want to go here. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Right. And why? And then week 2 is making commitments. Like, based on this is where you want to go, we say, hey, to get there, you're going to need to post twice a week, 3 times a week, once a week, whatever it is. And like, until we complete those commitments in the beginning, the title you use, the thumbnail you use, the length of video, the time of day you post, the keywords, that's all good stuff. We'll get to it, but very, very secondary. You got to go to the gym first, right? Get into the habit of going to the gym first.
Mm-hmm. So good. So good. Eric, this has been such a good conversation, man. You have so much knowledge, so many, but I love that it's like stuff you've learned on the court, if you will. It's and the way that you approach figuring out the things that you don't know. It's inspiring, but there's something really simple about the way you break it down, and I often think that people make it so much harder than it
Mhm.
really is. And so I'm really glad to have had this conversation with you because I think it's going to make a difference for a lot of people.
Thanks, Gary. Very, very kind of you to say that. I really enjoyed this. I could talk with you all day. Whenever you want to do it again, man, let me know.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again soon. Are you, how can people find you?
Yeah, so if someone wants to look and actually like see the stuff I'm talking about, Eric Cogorno Golf is our golf YouTube channel. That'd be a good place to go to see like the tactics, like actually see what we do. That I'm saying, how I pitch the products, how we do the title summers, all that stuff. And then we have a new personal development channel, Gary. It's called Lessons I've Learned with Eric
Mm,
Cogorno. That's where we do more videos like this, more personal
okay.
development, more business tactical stuff.
Oh, I'm excited about that. I did not know about that. So I'm glad I asked the question. We will put the links to all of those. I think we need to put the links to the Dream Life exercise too, because you
Mm.
referenced it so much. or unless you have your own version of it, then we'll link that
I'll
one.
send that to you so we can put that in there too.
Okay. All right, brother. Thank you so much. I hope you come back soon.
Thanks, Gary.
If there's one thing Eric's story makes clear, it's this. Life is not going to go the way that you planned. You might start out thinking that you know exactly where you're headed, only to realize the door you were working towards is never going to open. Maybe you realize you're not good enough like Eric, or maybe the market changed, or maybe you changed. That moment, the one where you have to let go of the plan you thought you were going to follow, is where most people get stuck. They see it as a failure. They start to hesitate and stop and wait for clarity before taking the next step. But Eric's journey shows us something different. His success didn't come from sticking to the plan. It came from pivoting, adjusting, and trusting himself enough to take the next step, even when he didn't know exactly where that step would lead him. And that's the real lesson here. Your success is not going to come from having the perfect plan. It's going to come from being willing to pivot, to take action, and to bet on yourself over and over again. So here's my challenge to you this week. Where in your life are you holding on to that old plan that no longer fits? Where are you resisting a pivot because you're afraid to start over? See if you can shift your perspective. Instead of seeing the change as a failure, see it as an opportunity. Instead of waiting to be sure, move forward and trust that clarity comes from taking those next steps. Because the truth is, betting on yourself is always a risk, but not betting at all? Well, that's the biggest risk of all. That's our show for this week. If this episode spoke to you, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe. Not only does it help you stay up to date when new episodes drop, it also does an incredible deal in helping me grow the show. And also, don't forget to share this episode with someone who needs to hear this. Until next time, keep pivoting, keep betting on yourself, and keep playing the ownership game.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Ownership Game with your host, Gary Montalvo. Make sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform, as well as subscribe so that you never miss an episode.